Well, good afternoon. I am delighted to be with you today. My name is Susie Hinkle. I'm with Direct Approach, and I want to say thank you to TAR for the opportunity to work with you all today and come together. And I think it's a great thing. It shows their commitment and their investment in you all to put this event on. And things like this aren't easy, and I applaud all of the efforts that they're making to do this and bring these opportunities to you. So what we're going to talk about in this breakout session is resourcefulness, the differentiator. And we chose that title because what we wanted to make sure that we expressed is that the skill of being resourceful, particularly in times like we have right now, is a differentiator amongst you and your competition. When we do work with mergers and acquisitions, a lot of the time value is directly connected to what separates you from your competition. And so as we talk about the skill of resourcefulness, I'm going to talk to you as a trainer because that's the optic that I bring to the table. And what's important about resourcefulness is to remember that it is a skill. And the good news there is that it means you can always get better at it. If you're really good at it, then we want to challenge you to be even better. If you are the best at resourcefulness, then we want to challenge you to be consistent. There's always a place to go. There's always a place to take a skill set. So again, we're happy to be here today to talk to you about resourcefulness. It's incredibly important in this time. And I noticed in a little bit of the description that I read about when they were marketing this session, it talked about using what you have. And I can't stress enough that one of the most important things that you have is you. You are of value. Your work is important. Working as a realtor is an important job. It matters a lot to people. And so what you do, we want to think about how we position you for success. Okay. Resourcefulness, just to demystify the term a little bit, like I'm not going to hand you some silver bullet or a magic vitamin that's going to make you more resourceful in the next, say, 45 minutes. But what's important, I think, for you to understand is that resourcefulness is just another way of saying, I see possibility. What's possible? And again, it's a skill. So not only are we going to talk about resourcefulness as a skill and how we can get better at it, but we're going to talk about all the other skills that feed resourcefulness and the skills that feed your success in your industry. So we've got a slideshow to share some information. I'm going to take a leap of faith and see if I can share the screen. If this doesn't go well, we'll just come back and just you and I will talk over the screen. So let's give this a try. Maybe. So we start with some quotes. Start where you are, use what you have, do what you can. And that's from Arthur Ashe. So we consider him credible. He was highly successful. And it might sound a little obvious, but where you are is reality. What's happening around you right now is reality. And we just start there. And we use what we have, and what we do what we can. And that means you put your level best forward every day. And then at night you can put your head on the pillow and you can close your eyes and rest because you did what you could. A resourceful person can see opportunity when others only see obstacles. There are plenty of people to tell you how awful things are right now, but there's opportunity to be had. And the sooner we turn our attention to what's possible, the more successful we'll be. Because it's not resources, but resourcefulness that ultimately makes a difference. So we may need a little encouragement from time to time right now, reassurance, and ideas on how to navigate uncertainty. So I want to take this opportunity again to mention TAR is an incredible resource for you. They put together this virtual conference today. You got to hear from Jeff Turner and Tim Gard, amongst other people, as the day goes on. And I think that you get out of this what you're willing to take and what you've gleaned. And so when we think about this, TAR is a great resource. They have a lot of education. They have a lot of resources. You want to leverage those other ideas. Don't go at this by yourself. Take advantage of the help and the resources that are offered. Creativity and ingenuity are important components of resourcefulness. So the idea behind creativity and ingenuity is, if I'm going to be resourceful and I'm going to navigate a difficult time or a changing fluid circumstance, then to be creative is to imply that I'm going to think of something I haven't thought of. And the skill behind that is something we call expansive thinking. And the most important thing when you're trying to come up with new ideas or you're trying to be creative is to not edit yourself. The more you tell yourself, oh, that won't work, or we've tried that before, you're choking off ideas. And ideas engender other ideas. So let your mind wander. Give yourself the opportunity and the freedom to think through possibilities. Resourcefulness can differentiate you from your competition. Part of being resourceful is managing yourself. And a positive outlook is a product of kind of breadcrumbing back at how we get to our perspective on the day. Emotions precede thoughts. So how you're feeling is going to fuel what you start to think. And what you think is going to fuel how you act, what actions you take, what you do. Okay? So there's a great story I love to tell about a shoe manufacturer that sends 2 salesmen to an underdeveloped country, and they're supposed to scout market potential. And the first salesman calls back to the home office and says, it's a bust. There's no market here. Nobody here wears shoes. Second salesman calls in and says, it's a gold mine. Nobody here wears shoes. So when you think about that, the situation is the same. What's different is how people look at it and what possibility they see. And if you're someone that can see possibility and you are willing to bet on yourself, then you can set yourself apart from your competition. So if emotions precede thoughts and thoughts precede action, let's dial back a second to our emotions and what we're feeling, okay? Whatever you're feeling is okay. Don't harshly judge yourself. Emotions are what they are. If something is going on, if you're afraid, if you're uncertain, if you're upset, that's a fact. It's how you feel. But what you do with it is a choice. So the idea is you may have feelings, you may have fears, you may have concerns, but the skill, because I'm a trainer, the skill is how we learn to manage those things. So once you're aware of your feelings, you can accept them and move forward. Identify and evaluate your options. What's the next best action? Which options move you forward? The sooner you get to what you'll do, the more quickly you can move forward. If you're someone that tends to get kind of stuck in a little bit of quicksand and you churn things over and you're not sure which way to go, our advice to you and what we've seen from decades of working with a variety of industries is identify a path forward and actions to take. The sooner you get to something you will do, decide to act, the sooner you'll be effective and you'll be successful. So uncertainty has an outcome. If you feel the times are uncertain, you're not sure what to make of things and you're a little bit nervous, then this is the part that I would like to take a moment and reassure you. Because if you're going to be resourceful, you need a little bit of confidence that there's a way forward. And so 3 stories I like to share where uncertainty has an outcome. The first one is 1864. During the Civil War, The North is exhausted. They've been at this longer than they expected. And if you go back to 1864, you don't know that the war ends in 1865. And just like right now, if you're at all fearful or things seem really challenging, you don't exactly know when this passes, when we get to the other side, when we have a breakthrough. But that always comes. It always comes. We always get through things. And to me, that's a reassurance. So you may be at what we call an 1864 moment. You may not realize that just around the corner, things are going to get better. And that's all the more reason that you hang in there. Okay? The next point on here is 7/8. Now, this is a particularly special story for me. And I love that it connects to you all because it has to do with a realtor. And 20 years ago, when we started our company, at the time, lovely lady here in my hometown named Sandy, the top realtor in the community. And when we talked to her about starting our business and setting forth on something uncertain, she had a piece of advice for us, and we listened. She said that most businesses, and she had worked with a lot of realtors, so she knew exactly about the kind of things that you face and your businesses. And she said most businesses quit 7/8 of the way there. They don't realize it just a little bit farther. Hang on just a little bit more. Keep going just a little bit more effort, a little more time, and you make it. A lot of people quit 7/8 of the way there. And I can tell you personally that on 2 different occasions in our 20 years, we've sat down and had hard conversations, said, which way do we go? How's this look? And we would remember what Sandy said, that a lot of people stopped 7/8 of the way there. And we committed to keep going. And I'm happy to report that we are wildly successful today. And we owe a lot of that to that piece of advice from the top realtor at the time that just reminded us that uncertainty has an outcome. It may be just around the corner. September of 1940 to May of 1941 was the Blitz on London. And at the end of May of 1941, the headline about what the poor British people had been through is the bombing failed to demoralize the British people. Every night they went to bed with bombs blasting in London. And they hung in there. And they had no idea to hope that it would end or what would make things different. But they kept going. So part of resourcefulness is hanging in there and betting on yourself and remembering that uncertainty has an outcome. You will get through. Okay? So moving forward, we don't go backward to achieve progress. I like to mention horses and cars. My granny lived to be 102 years old. She was born in 1908. And when she was a little girl, they took horses everywhere. She rode a horse and buggy to church on Sundays. She walked to school. And then the advent of cars come along. But no matter what happened in the auto industry, at no point did someone go, let's go back to horses. Humans just aren't like that. I hear people that get frustrated with cell phones, like, oh, you know, people are always on their phone. People complain about the cell phone. I'm here to tell you, we are never going back to landlines. We are never going back to the telegraph. Life moves forward. And longing to go back in time, which requires a time machine, does not serve us. So the best thing you can do is think ahead. And that's part of what I enjoyed so much about Jeff Turner's talk that was on just before me here, talking about the things that are coming, because those things on the horizon are very much your soon-to-be reality. And I think that it's useful for you to have had the opportunity to hear him speak, and again, to connect to the resources that TAR has to help you know these things. Even if we want to return to a prior state, we are changed by current circumstances. Forward is the best resourceful direction. So if you're going to develop your resourcefulness, here's what we recommend. Number one, focus on the outcome. When you see where you want to end up, you can make a plan to get there. Look forward. Your words and actions lead you in that direction, or they move you further away. The choice is yours. You decide what you say, you decide what you do. But take action. Have a plan and move forward. Number two, focus on your fundamentals. The greatest athletes still practice, challenge themselves, and keep focused on fundamentals. You'll have sales jobs. You provide a service, you provide a valuable service. It's got a component to it that's sales. And sales are skills. And skills mean, let's break down the fundamentals. Let's always work on how we can get better. Again, I come back to leverage the education that TAR offers you. Because you can hone your sales skills. You can hone your business skills. You can hone your networking skills. Your ability to reach people, connect people, communicate. Whatever you focus on is what you'll get more of. So let's think about pursuing business, how you grow your business. Contact existing customers and listen. Provide encouragement, share what you can do. It's less expensive to retain business than to prospect. Intentionally grow your account base. Set out, write goals down. 3% of the population write their goals down, and 3% of the population actually achieve their goals. So write down where you want to take your business, where you want to take your work. And contact your existing customers. Those are relationships that even if they are not in the market today, you have to feed a relationship to have a relationship. And it's an investment. It's an investment in a future sale. The work you're doing today ideally is a product of things that you spent time on prior. But intentionally grow your account base. Be creative in identifying who can use your services and ask for referrals. All our business in our 20 years of successful work has been referral based. Brainstorm a list and refrain from editing yourself. And what we mean by that is who all might need your service that you haven't thought of before. And maybe there's a customer of yours that can take you somewhere that you didn't think of. So be open-minded, see possibilities. Contact previous customers. It doesn't matter if they're currently in the market. Your goal is to be top of mind when they are. If you wait till people are ready to make a move, you may be a little bit late. You want to be on the front end of that. You want to have been working that relationship and staying in touch. And so the moment that they think they want to move, you're the logical choice. I come back to the realtor that gave us the 7/8 advice. One of the stories where she's famous. I live in a college town. And across her backyard was the football coach. That's where he lived. She opened the paper one morning and saw that he had been let go. And Sandy folded the paper, got up, walked across the back door, knocked on the slider and said, "Hey, you decide you want to move, you call me." Now, somebody might have said, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe she went over, like him losing his job is in the paper that morning, and she really walked across the yard and knocked on the door." Yeah, she did. Because somebody was going to sell his house. And Sandy thought, why not me? Be top of mind. Define categories of customers to give you an indication where more might be. So years ago, we worked at a greeting card company. And one of the things that we had developed was the way that we categorized lead sources. And we did all sorts of math and tracking. And we started to look for patterns. Where were good prospects to put more greeting cards? And the obvious ones bubbled up: gift shops. Any place that bought gifts, bought cards, any kind of gift shop, definitely a category for us to pursue. Secondly, any place that correspondence was relevant, whether it's post office mailing, mailing supply stores, even bookstores, because a lot of times there's correspondence, stationery sold there, that kind of thing. And then the one that surprised us and turned out to be so incredibly lucrative was wherever people waited. So you'd be interested to know that one of our top accounts in the entire United States were car washes in Los Angeles, because they wash their car all the time, bring their car in, they put it through the wash, and then they're in a lobby area, and we put in greeting cards. And we sold a ton of greeting cards. So when I'm talking about being resourceful and defining categories of your customers, think about who you've worked with in the past, who you know your competitors have as customers, and look for patterns. Do you see categories? Like, where do you see opportunity? And then be memorable in a good way. Tim Gard earlier talked about using humor, right? That sets you apart. Are you a really good listener? I'm tell you right now, if you are a good listener, you are memorable. There's a great story about a guy gets on an airplane. He's going to fly from San Francisco to Boston. So nice, long 3.5 hour flight. And he tells his wife, he says, I have this idea. When I get on the plane, whoever I sit next to, I'm going to commit to not sharing anything about me. And I'm going to ask them about themselves the entire flight. So he does this. And all the way across the flight, he asks questions and is interested in what the person has to say and what their life is like and what they have to share. And he gets off the plane in Boston, and he's walking kind of behind the person that was in the seat next to him. And he hears the woman tell her, we assume husband that picked her up, I met the most interesting man on the plane. Now, what's funny is he never shared anything about himself. All he did was be interested in that person. And when you listen to people, it may be exactly what they need, and it connects you to them. And it's memorable, because I'm sure you can attest, like most people, not a lot of great listeners out there. One of the products, I think, of social media is that people are posting so much. They're sharing and they're expressing. And the art of listening is really important. So for you to be resourceful, for you to see possibility, you've got to be listening. Keep your ears open. Listen to your customers. Listen to anybody and touches your business in the most remote way. Listen, because that's where you gather data and information and insight. And then I come back to bet on yourself. You can do something with that. It can be useful for you to use what you hear and what you learn. Ralph Waldo Emerson once said that in every person, there's something that I can learn from them. And in that, I am his student. So if you think about listening to people, that feeds your resourcefulness. You're taking what you have around you and making use of it. Also, be clear about your role. What is it you can provide? How is it that you help people? Be clear about how you help your clients. In sales, it's a fundamental rule. What's in it for me? WIFM, WIIFM. What's in it for me? Your client is really only interested in what use you can be to them. So why should they pick you? Why should they use your services? You want to have practiced and concisely be able to articulate what you can do for somebody and why you over anybody else. Confidence fuels resourcefulness. Confidence is a product of knowledge, skills, and preparedness. If you want your confidence to go up, grow your knowledge. Develop your skills. Be prepared. Practice cold call conversations. Practice listening. Practice any of the skills that fuel your success in serving your clients. Knowledge can be gained, skills can be improved, and preparedness is effort and practice. Those are all things in your control. With everything you can't control, let's focus on what we can. And you can grow your skill set. You can increase your knowledge. You can increase your network. You can utilize more resources. Don't be afraid of technology. Don't be afraid of math. All those things are available to you for you to utilize and be of great value to your client. So let's talk a little bit about sales, because that's part of being resourceful. Is how am I going to increase my sales skills? How do I get better? How do I solve some things? These are sales equations. We want to use sales skills. So our recommendation when you train salespeople is we break a sales process down into steps. At the very, very beginning, before you take the first step, you should be able to identify a goal or an outcome you want to have. What is it you want to accomplish with this particular client? And ideally, that's a collaborative process so that you understand the thing you're trying to deliver is what they want delivered. So collaborate and identify that goal. And now you have something to shoot for. And everything you do, everything you say, every action you take is a choice. And it's going to feed you getting to that outcome, or it'll take you farther away. Opening introduction. If you are growing your business, chances are you're talking to people you've not talked to before. And you want to get comfortable with how you introduce yourself. And the best openings, the best introductions, the best very first step forward. Because remember, we're talking about first impressions. And the best foot forward is for you to just quickly identify who you are and what you can do for them. And as quickly as possible, get to a question that gets them talking. So your opening, your introduction should not be a 14-paragraph dissertation on who you are and your pedigree and what you've accomplished and what you're going to. It's less about you. I come back to the art of listening. The more you get a potential client talking, the more effective you'll be. And the only way for them to be talking is if you aren't. So there's an art. We actually teach class, the art of asking questions. There's an art to asking questions. You don't want to sound like a survey taker rattling questions off. You want to be open-ended, which means they start with who, what, when, where, why, and how to get them talking. And the question should flow based on the answer they just recently gave you because it's a conversation. But the biggest part of your conversation is to keep finding ways to ask them things, because the more you learn about them, the easier it is to meet their need. And that's the heart of the value you bring. They have some need, and you're going to meet it. I can't tell you how many people we talk to that shy away from the idea that they're in sales. Like sometimes they're apologetic about it. And I can't tell you how many times I've heard somebody say, well, I don't want to be a used car salesman. And my simple response is, then don't. But there's something valuable and important and dignified in helping people meet their needs. And if they need a realtor and you can help them figure out what is a good solution for them, and you navigate meeting their need, it's another version of problem solving. There's something they don't have, or there's someplace they're not, or there's a situation they're not yet in, and you're going to help them get there. And that means you're of value. Because if you provide value, then you're important to them and you're of use. And I want to take just a second to digress, because I think that storytelling is one of the best ways that we reach each other. And when I talk about us being of use for other people, I like to tell a story about my mom. So years ago, I was just, a long time ago, I had just graduated college. And my mom and I were talking about what my plans were. And being a knucklehead 21-year-old, my idea, my response about what I was going to do with my life was I was going to travel Europe, observe people, and write. And that as I went through life and observed people, that the idea was that, like a bottle of wine, I would get better with age. Okay, this is a 21-year-old telling their brilliant mother this ridiculous plan. So I had the metaphor of being a bottle of wine, that as I went through experiences, I would just get better and better, like a bottle of wine. And my mother looked at me and said, you know, I'd rather be an old jalopy than a bottle of wine. Because a bottle of wine sits up on a shelf, not doing anything, getting better with age. Where an old jalopy might have been a family car that took people places, that created memories and was of use, and should rather have been something that wore down over time because it had been so used than to sit on a shelf. So I tell you that story in a conversation about resourcefulness because you are of use. I come back to what you do is important. Where I lay my head at night in my home, where my business is, what opportunities I have with commercial properties. I don't do that myself. I get a professional. I go to a realtor who's going to help me with all those things. I don't ever want to have to be the one that is making sure a contract is right. I may not know enough about market or value or all kinds of things that you all do. So this is where specialization is important. You're of use. You provide a very specific skill set, knowledge base, and opportunity for people. And everything you do is a secret unless you tell people. So the service you provide, the value you provide, that's part of being resourceful, when you're able to communicate it. And you need to have the confidence to speak highly of yourself because you do something important. So I go back to open-ended questions. Get people talking, because as they inform you of a variety of details, that additional question uncovered one more important thing that might not have seen material, and it's very important. You are better equipped to meet their need. And when you meet their need, you're providing your service. So open-ended questions, get them talking, learn what it is for you to solve and how you meet their needs. Then you may have some options for them. Features and benefits. Tell the pros, possibly the cons, if it's a comparison kind of thing, objectively, but every feature has a corresponding direct benefit. It's not a list of features and here's a list of good stuff. Every feature, that feature has a specific benefit to it. And this is something from a communication skill standpoint you can also work to develop. Anytime you have a period that's a little slow, increase your networking, contact your previous customers, prospect, and develop your skills. Because you make hay when the sun shines. And if you've got business flying out the door and you are busier than a one-armed wallpaper hanger, then you go capture all that business. And because life goes up and down, if you have a period of time that's opportunity and possibility, you work on your communication skills, you work on listening, you go back to your fundamentals, you call your account base, you be creative of where else business might be. And you hone your message about why you're the right choice and what you do. Overcome objections. I don't know that I have that money. I don't know that the time is right. I don't know that that one's right. People are mistake-proofing their life, and they're going to throw up hesitancy, okay? You want to be prepared if you've brought the right solution to them to reassure them. Overcoming objections isn't trickery. It's not slick salesmanship that's going to stick them in something they don't need. Overcoming objections is the opportunity to reassure somebody that they don't let something that might be perceived as a problem get in the way of a good solution. If you have the right fit, you want to help people feel good about that answer. And then when you close a deal, this is where in a half an hour time, I usually make month's worth of salary. Closing skills for sales. Don't let anybody ever complicate this for you or make you think it's harder than it is. All closing is the summary of your good conversation. You're in the market for X. You've described these are the factors that matter to you. This is what we found. I think this meets your needs. We've looked at this factor, this factor, this. You summarize your good conversation and then seek agreement. So I think this property is the right fit for you. Wouldn't you agree? Seek agreement. Wouldn't you agree? And when they agree, please don't say, okay, I'll get back to you in a couple weeks and work some stuff. No. We take agreement and we turn it into action. And you let people know what happens next because you're the one that knows how this works. Okay, you want this to happen? Here's what I'm going to do. This is what you can expect. This is what I'll need from you. And this is how this goes. So all closing is summarizing your good conversation, seeking agreement, and turning agreement into action. Don't let anybody make closing a sale seem more complicated than that. And then most importantly, walk the talk, follow through. This is an active relationship. When you close a sale, it's not the end. That is the start of a successful relationship. You just did something for them. You provided a service. It was successful. And look at it as if it's the first time you've worked with them, your first sale. If it's somebody you've worked with before, maybe it's your third sale. But that should be a continuum of an active relationship. And if they're not in the market right now, you still have a relationship. Because customers, clients, really aren't interested in people who are just in it for themselves and out to make a buck. They can smell that. If you actually care about them, you check in on them from time to time. You see how they're doing. You see how things are going. Anything change in their life? And it's an active relationship. So a sale, a closing is not the end. If anything, it is the beginning of an active relationship. So when we talk about being resourceful, when we talk about what's possible, seeing what's possible, your sales skills are a way to your success. So break down the fundamentals, work on these things. Which step in the sales process is your strength? Are you really good at asking questions and getting people talking? Are you really good at articulating features and benefits? Are you really good at solving, overcoming objections, making people feel better about the path forward? Are you good at follow through? Are you good at the opening? What are your strengths? Because whatever they are, do more of it. And which step is an opportunity or a challenge? Which is the area that needs the most help? Identify the area where you can get better and then work on a plan to close that gap. And again, reach out to your resources. There's education. You have colleagues. You can even learn from competitors. I dare say competition has always made me better. And math is your friend. Be comfortable talking in numbers. Be comfortable talking in math. Don't be intimidated. If you're intimidated by it, spend more time with it. Math is like spiders and flying. If you're afraid of flying, they tell you learn how to fly an airplane or fly more. If you're afraid of spiders, they usually have you spend time with spiders. So if you don't like spiders, don't tell people you're afraid of them. Just a thought. But if you're not comfortable with math, or you feel like that's where you trip up, or you might scare somebody with a number, nope. Break it down. Why is it possible? Be comfortable with math. Spend more time, practice, get comfortable. Everybody has a sales job. Ensure that everyone on your team understands their importance in the sales process. At your particular firm, the receptionist, the person here, the person in charge, anybody in your organization contributes to the sales process. Focusing on your skills, let's think about how we manage information. There's a lot of information. Information must be processed, organized, and applied. I love the movie Apollo 13 because it's got a rich number of case studies that help us think about how to be better, problem solving, staying calm under pressure, being resourceful. Selling ideas, getting some persuasion out there to have people see things maybe from our perspective, if that's going to help. But reacting with frustration or inaction, I've rarely seen that be of use. We've got to think about how you're going to apply what you reason with and what you solve. Number one skill important for survival in extreme circumstances based on survey of skilled rescue personnel, outdoor experts, and adventure enthusiasts. Belief they will. What we mean by that is research was done where they examined and interviewed experts about if somebody was in an extreme circumstance where survival was in question. They identified that the number one skill, and this is a skill, was the belief you'd get out, belief that they would make it, because that fuels everything that comes after that. So it's important when times are uncertain that for you to tap into your resourcefulness, the step just before that, you got to believe you can and believe you will. And believe in yourself. Independence and collaboration. So count on yourself. Do your part. Don't delegate your life. And collaborate. This isn't or. It's not singular, plural, right? It's both. I'm going to do my part, and I'm going to tap into working with people. Process information emotionally and intellectually. You are a human being. You feel certain things. Process it, but don't let it control you. If your emotions control you, your credibility will decrease. It's hard to trust people that are emotional, that fly off the handle, that don't seem to be in control of themselves. And process information intellectually. If I could bestow on most people a particular skill, it would be objectivity. Because objectivity positions you better to be successful. So we want to think about that. Apply and adapt knowledge to new situations. So you're faced with something that seems like new circumstances, but in a way you've trained your whole life for now. All the things you've been through, all the things you've experienced have yielded abilities and knowledge. And you can use that in whatever comes up. Are you prepared for everything you're going to face? To a degree. Identify your own resourcefulness skills and know where you need to focus. What is it you're good at? Are you creative? And you're really good at that? That feels good. I got to work on my communication. I got to work on my problem solving. I got to increase my tenacity, that I don't stop at 7/8 of the way there. But identify your resourcefulness skills, and any place you see a gap, you want to close that gap. Know your strengths, focus on your own development, invest in your development, follow up with training, practice, practice, practice. Here are a list of resourcefulness skills. So you can shop this and say, I'm good at that, I'm good at that, I need to work on that, I'm terrible at that. Anything you're terrible at, maybe it's a hiring thing. Maybe you need to get a complementary skill set where you are and leverage other people's strengths. It's a possibility. So these resourcefulness skills consist of the sales process. How are your sales skills? Decision making. Do you need to get better at decision making, or you're a good decision maker? Problem solving. Planning. Proper focus. Do you get distracted and spend time on minor things? There's a phrase we have at our company that you major in the majors. Don't get distracted by ankle biting, things that aren't worth it, distractions that take you off your game. Stay focused on what matters most. Creativity. That's a resourcefulness skill. And some people think, well, you got to come creative. No, creativity is a skill. You can get better at it. There are things you can do to cultivate that. A positive outlook. It's going to serve you well. And if it's hard for you to see possibilities or a way forward, if you are a self-proclaimed Eeyore, then you want to work on your positivity, on being able to see positive possibilities. Objectivity. That, again, I come back to, that is a skill to develop. Prioritization, adaptability, organization, looking forward. Are you organized? If you're not organized, work on that. You don't have to say, well, I'm just not. No, that's someplace to invest yourself. All of these things, you move any of these levers, you increase your resourcefulness. Life is your best teacher. Reflect on your experiences, identify what you'd repeat, what was successful, what would you change, what didn't work, what could have gone better. Learn from your mistakes. If you follow football and you're familiar with the New England Patriots, a lot of people don't like Bill Belichick. I would be one of those. But I tell you what, he has an interesting philosophy. They have a player that makes a mistake. They call him over. They explain what the person did wrong. They talk them through how to do it better the next time. They make sure that the person can play back and they understand what they should do. And then they put them out. And that's okay. You make a mistake, not a problem. But mistake repeaters, they have a problem with that. If we spend the time, talk with you about what should happen, you indicate you understand, you go back out, and you make the same mistakes over and over again, you're not learning from your mistakes, and that will undermine your success. So learn from mistakes.
That's great, Susie. That was fantastic. Thank you.
Are we wrapping up?
I think we're wrapping up now. Can you see me?
I can.
Good. Finally, nice we can talk. How are you?
I'm good. Hi.
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you so much for all that useful information. We got like a minute. This thing's been cutting people off early, so I'd rather give you that last minute to do it before you get cut off. So we just wanted to thank you again for coming to our virtual conference. And I'm officially announcing we're under 100 days to Christmas. So my friend, we got you a little something to celebrate Christmas. There you go, buddy. All right. So thank you so much. I just thought I might go with the rest of your collection.
Thank you, Michael.
So, thank you very much. And I'll give you the last minute to go ahead and wrap up. Everybody, when she's done here, just go back to your lobby and I'll see you all there.
Thanks,
Thank you again, Susie. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you. So to wrap up, what I would say is the skill of resourcefulness is most easily achieved in your ability to see possibility. You have a path forward. Bet on yourself. You are of value and you're important. And I wish you great success. And until people can meet in person, carry on, stay well, and keep learning. Take care.